your business matters. That is why we are here, for you to inspire, inform, and entertain, hopefully. I am very excited to introduce to you our guests for today because I'm a client of hers. She's a client of mine. And I am very, very grateful to her for what she brings to the table. And that is Dr. Lexi Lain, founder of Summit Vitality. She's a doctor of naturopathic medicine based here in Lake Norman. How fortunate are we? And is an impassioned researcher and expert, all things stress. This has become extremely a focus of her business and her everything that she is offering, because we were talking about it in the first half.
What's the bridge?
Stress.
Yeah.
Stress, from health to mental to physical. It is an issue.
P&L.
Yeah.
Stress because of the P&L.
Because of the P&L.
There you go.
Because can't find workers, because workers can't find the job, because workers can't stand the boss. It goes on and on and on and on and on. And so, and what is really cool about Dr. Lexi is that she clearly practices what she preaches on all levels. I've seen it for myself, including de-stressing by competing in triathlons. Are you kidding me now? That is pretty darn amazing. Something that a mantra I saw that I have to read because I love it, because I think you might have even said it to me. Stop asking me what you should be taking for something. Love that, because I'm so anti-meds anyway. Ask me what you should be doing instead. How should you be supplementing? How, physically, mentally, ingesting everything. So, okay, you got to tell us, why have you gotten so involved in stress? And tell us a little backstory about why this has become such a passion for you.
Sure. Yes. So thank you so much for having me as a guest.
You
is a
are
joy.
welcome.
Yes.
I'm thrilled to have you here.
It's always great to have a conduit to help others.
Mm-hmm.
And so listeners, thank you for tuning in. And yeah, so first of all, I became a naturopathic doctor because I got sick in my undergrad. And that sickness, wrong diagnosis, wrong medication, adverse drug reaction, and that the rest is history. And so I fell into the field of naturopathic medicine because, well, I needed it myself. And so as any other doctor, we graduate, we become doctors, we set up our practices, our businesses, and we are better doctors than we are better business owners.
Yeah, that's why we stay very busy.
Start to print money.
That's why we stay very busy.
Yes. And so, it's been this massive learning curve, and I would love the whole, what's your niche? And I'm like, I just want to help everybody and anybody. And, because that's what doctors do. We just want to help everyone. So in defining of the niche and running a poor business and, just a practice, well, 63% of clinicians are burning out. And there's a fundamental reason for that. There's a lot of systems in place that are not sustainable to the clinician. I will not get into that. But burnout is real, and it's spanning so many different industries, and I think we can all feel that.
Yes.
And so when the pandemic hit, this is an extreme example of just high OTT stress for everyone for so many different reasons, including myself. And so what I ended up doing was taking that opportunity to really listen in on how I can help others. And it started with the clinicians and mainly the counselors, the mental health counselors, because they were
bombarded.
Yes. Bombarded. So that started the whole, okay, you know what? I'm so passionate about the stress. I'm so passionate about being able to help others, but starting with the leaders. And the Lake Norman
makes a lot of sense from a corporate culture standpoint, right?
Absolutely.
If the leaders don't get it, nobody's going to get
That's right.
it.
Well, because I saw that, man, we really need to take care of the leaders.
Yes.
Because if we don't, then it starts at the top.
Yes,
right?
it does. Yeah.
And so even in the conversations with clinician burnout in the hospitals, we are talking to the leaders and saying, hey, we got to lead by example. Well, what are the leaders doing to take care of themselves? What are the business owners doing? What are the CEOs doing? So when you said the example about the wellness programs or the gym at the corporation, is the owner going and utilizing these things? Because they're watching you. And if you're not doing it, neither is your team. And so anyway, that began the story, and I became super passionate. And so spanning beyond just health professionals, but professionals in general. And really creating hey, can we make the world a better place? Because we all want to make a difference, but we want to do it in our best selves.
And in a gratifying way.
Yes.
You call this getting your spark back.
Yes.
So talk a little bit about what that means. When you see somebody that you're working with get their spark back, what is that like?
Okay, so have you noticed anybody who's been taking care of themselves? Like you can tell, right?
Mm-hmm.
What do they look like?
Happy,
Okay, what
Happy.
else?
smiling,
They have
Okay.
energy. They have some
Healthy.
energy.
Yes.
healthy,
What does that healthiness look like? How do you see it in someone?
easy moving,
Yeah.
interaction.
They're lighting up.
Yep.
They're lighting up.
They're lighting
up.
They're lighting up.
Yes.
And I think
They have
energy.
a spark.
They
Go
have
ahead and
a
say
spark.
it. They have a spark.
Yeah.
They have a skip in their
Yeah.
step, and so in those really dark times of the pandemic, that was also a challenging time for me too. I would call it a dark time. And so it all kind of started with a silent meditation.
Mhm.
And I went into this silence within myself and in my external world. And then this whole idea of get your spark back came in.
Yeah.
And I saw myself on a stage wearing sparkly shoes, and I have said sparkly shoes now. And anyway, so that was the mission. And it's like, all right, I'm going to help others get their spark back. And by doing so, it's light, and light is energy, and we are all the light of the world in our own ways. And so if we're going to run whatever business you're running and you want to make a difference, that's your bubble, to a lack of better terms there, right? But that's why we're all here,
Yeah.
and we're all unique in how we do it. And so light being energy, that's the focus, and
Well,
stress
and-
just steals that.
Well,
Yeah.
what I love about how you work, because I have the pleasure of being a benefactor of your work, okay? And so something that you did, because you look at the whole, what makes you who you are as a naturopathic doctor,
Yes.
is that you look at the whole person. You're looking at the mental state, you're looking at the physical state, you're looking at the spiritual state, you're looking at, all aspects.
Yes.
And so, and then you're looking at aspects physiologically that maybe the medical doctor is not. And I'm blessed to have a medical doctor that's very collaborative.
Yes.
But you identified that I might be borderline B12 deficient. And so we had the tests, and I'll be darned if I wasn't. And so working collectively with my doctor, now I find I have more physical energy that I felt I was losing, and I couldn't understand why. And so there is science combined with art, combined with, wonderful multifaceted methodologies
Yes.
that you bring to the table that are just wonderful.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I like to ask one question. The question I have is, why do I hear this much more often about deficiency left and deficiency right?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Europe? No. What is it? Is it food, our food system?
Oh, the American food is
Is,
terrible.
is that the driver? Because it's really, this every time the same discussion. I had a deficiency here and a deficiency there.
Well, there are deficiencies in Europe as well.
I know, but not
Yes.
so extreme as what I hear over here.
Sure. And I have to kind of think about how I'm going to say this.
Yes,
In a
yes, yes,
political
yes.
incorrect. Food
Yes,
is
yes.
awful over here.
Right. We can't upset Joe, whoever's listening. But anyway, no. So, all I'm going to say is that, you get quality of soil, you get quality of food, and we just talked about environmental toxins earlier.
Chemicals everywhere.
Yeah, so our burdens are at a certain
Corn
threshold.
syrup.
Right.
Yeah, corn syrup,
Ooh,
yeah. So
so-
we have, imagine a Jenga tower, okay?
Yes.
And everybody's played Jenga. If you haven't, it's a stack of wooden blocks, and
That
you
you
stack them
pull,
up. You pull, and then they go, and then the tower's going to tumble. And so imagine each block is a representation of something like an environmental toxin, to poor food choices, to insomnia,
Right.
to the stress from corporation, to your high blood pressure, to all the things, okay? And let's just stack the
It
box.
add up.
Eventually it's going to add up, and the tower will knock over, and so that threshold is going to look a little different in different countries, different work cultures, because we
Yeah.
know in Europe they have the holiday. In the U.S. we do. Go ahead and explain what the holiday is.
No, yeah, the holidays. Okay, I was noting it. You talk about burnout. I always call it burn downs, because you see people really burning down almost.
Right,
But then
right,
you
right.
get the whole point. How do you solve the problem? Is it being is it okay to have a burnout over here? do we give people the time and the possibilities to get better again?
Sure.
Or do we cut it from the PTOs?
So
Yeah,
I like
exactly. And going back to the whole aspect of taking time off and revitalizing
Yes.
and
Yeah.
rejuvenating. I have a dear friend whose husband retired from, I think it was I'm not going to say who because I don't want to say,
No.
but had accumulated tons of vacation days that he never used.
right.
Instead
He was so
of
proud of
Oh,
it.
yeah.
Yes.
Well,
yes.
but here's the thing, and totally burnt down,
Yeah.
burned down, burned out, whatever.
Burned out.
What I love to see is when you have to take them or you lose them, so you got to take them. We want you to take these vacations.
And creating a
Yes.
culture in your company to where not only are the leaders honoring their rest and recovery, that's what I call it.
Yep.
Because if the leaders are honoring it, and then you have to also make sure that the
true.
employees are honoring it,
Yep.
and you kind of have to micromanage it and say, you're taken off because you haven't in
Right.
6 months.
Right.
This is me intervening, and sometimes you do have to do that because it's in our culture to not do that. Now, so your question on like the two, what
let's
should we
finish
do?
this when we come
Solutions.
back. Let's finish
Yeah.
this when we come
Yeah.
back because I
Really
think this is
interesting.
important.
Really interesting.
Really
Okay.
important.
Sounds
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Stay tuned, listeners.
Yeah, and your
Because
business matters.
your
Your
business matters.
matters. Yeah. As a matter of fact, we believe that Joe should just stay on vacation,
Yeah, he
and
should.
Harm, we'll just handle it, right? We'll just handle it from here.
Yeah, I think he had enough stress.
Joe,
we send him away
Joe,
for
Joe,
additional
you
week
need
off.
you need a little bit more stress relief.
Yeah.
You need that rest and recovery.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
we think that is very important to you, and I know Julie
Many
appreciates us
PTO hours
encouraging
left,
him.
so we can
Plenty of PTO,
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
plenty
Yeah.
of PTO. So let's
de-stress, Joe. De-stress.
de-stress. Okay, so I love the rest and recovery. How you call that's what that's
Yes.
called, right?
Yes.
I want you to touch upon something that stood out to me as well in working with you, and that you've developed what's called a stress intensity index. Can you share a little bit more about that?
Yes. So on the website, drlexilain.com, so Lein, by the way, the stress intensity index was just a series of questions because we don't always realize how stressed we might actually be. And we also might not realize some of those ailments that you're feeling in your body are connected to the stress. So it was a quick questionnaire I put together, totally free to you. And the stress, it basically goes through a series of questions, and it's thought provoking, but very quick, and just helping to see, geez, am I a little too stressed? Am I hovering on this threshold, which would be the red zone or the yellow zone, or maybe you're just amazing at balancing your stress and wellness and your family and all of that, and so you'd be in the green zone. And those who are in the red and the yellow, I've gifted them with a sustainable success ebook, and so there's some top tips in there, but it's just a way for anyone really to make that connection between, maybe my stress is at a threshold, because burnout is like seasonal affective disorder. You don't realize you have it until you start hearing maybe the signs and symptoms of what it actually is.
Okay, share a little bit more about that. What would those be?
Yeah. So if you are waking up in the morning and you are dreading the work, and the small little tasks that really should not be like anything at all, it feels like a mountain. Your fuse is tiny and it's short, and you're snapping at your team members, or you're snapping at your family or your children, and you don't like this, but it's because you're hovering on this emotional exhaustion. And then also, the feelings of overwhelmed, or the worst case scenario is you've become apathetic, where you no longer feel like it's a micro quitting, and you just have nothing left to give. And so people in the caregiving industry, we might call that compassion fatigue, where you're just giving so much of yourself and there's nothing left. It's an empty cup. And so you become apathetic, which is just like I feel nothing and I don't care, and I'm not going to roll. I'm going to come into work at 10. I'm going to leave at 4, see what I can. Basically, The Office, the movie The Office, and the micro quitting. Just watch that. The dude was burned out.
Yeah, totally. And I like, because you have the quiet quitters and you have the great resignation.
Correct.
The micro quitting is fascinating.
Yes.
I love that.
Yes.
And I also, I think another thing, stress, because I've shared that with you, is just, when you know that you're always a very focused person and you're having a hard time focusing because you feel pulled in so many different directions, right? So so you had some tips for, like 3 key tips that you think would get people to at least start to think of how they can manage it, our listeners. So give us those tips.
Okay. So the first thing I'm going to ask you to do is just imagine yourself like picking up a water bottle. You guys don't have to do this, but literally just pick up a water bottle and you're holding it out 90 degrees with your arm out and you're just hanging out. You're just holding it. Feels pretty light, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what if I told it's almost empty. What if I told you to keep that arm up with that water bottle for the next 2 hours? What do you think is going to happen? Do you think you're going to be able to do it?
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe 5 hours.
Maybe
okay,
not.
You can relax.
Maybe all that juggling helps me. I don't know.
Okay, so here's the thing.
Yeah.
The water bottle, those are your stressors, right?
Yeah.
And they didn't change in weight or intensity.
No.
What changed was your threshold.
Sure.
So
that
we
makes
have
sense.
we have a mental threshold, an emotional threshold, and a physical threshold. So in triathlon, we call this like rest and recovery days. That's where I got that from. Or when you're working out, you get to muscle failure. So
interesting. Yeah.
That's what I mean by rest and recovery. So you can have micro rest and recovery moments during your day where you're not stuck. And I know people are in meetings back to back to back to back to back. Well, how do you feel? Drained.
Yes.
You have nothing left for your families.
Efficiency.
That's right. So taking your lunch, taking a 5-minute moment of breathing, and it seems so cheesy, but it's actually what you're doing is you're resting your nervous system and giving it a little tiny break. You're putting the weight down. And so these are little micro rest and recoveries you can do in the day, but then obviously the value of sleep and vacation, a do nothing day at work or at home. So there's lots of little ways to do that. So that's rest and recovery.
I've got something, that whole micro rest and recovery. I love that. I was doing an emerging leader program for a bunch of heavy stressed, heavy construction engineers, project managers, that type. And we were talking about how important it is to just take a break, before you send that email, that's laden with stress response, right?
Yes.
And so one of the project managers shared that they were about to hit send. They decided not to hit send. They decided to go out for just a 5-minute walk. Just a 5-minute walk. They came back and they totally reverbalized that email, and it was a much better end result.
Yes.
A 5-minute walk. Just get up at the desk, go outside, breathe some, vitamin D, get back in. That was just a great example of a micro rest and recovery.
That's right. Exactly.
Yeah.
And what's happening physiologically, if you're a science person, is that your body and your brain is in a fight or flight response, and so it shuts down that logical, higher thinking part of your brain. And you need that higher thinking and logical brain to really think through clearly on how am I going to respond to that nastygram? That would be the email, the complainers. How am I going to respond to the nastygram with love and kindness? How can I do that?
Yep.
And in order to get to that place, you better go for that walk.
Yes.
And if you're the men out there taking your testosterone and you need to punch something, then maybe we need to have like little those like small punching bags. So, hey, that's an outlet. I'm not encouraging you to punch a wall, but a punching bag. Again, that Tai Chi and karate. Okay, that was my humor, right? I'm seeing some giggles here. Anyway, so that's the karate. That's an outlet for angry. Let's face it. Sometimes you just want to hit something, not people. All right. So then moving into exercise and making time. So the top 10 number 2 is going to be making time. You're not going to find it. You're not going to have time. You have to make it. And part of the making time is making time for the rest and recovery, but also getting exercise in. That was the biggest change in my world that really changed. And it changed my life. It also changed my business. So that's a really important piece. And that making time, really thinking through what's making time in your life for what matters.
Can you talk a little bit about micro making time in this regard? Because there is value. If someone thinks, oh, I must carve out an hour and a half or an hour in a day, give some examples of how they can do micro steps towards getting some exercise. So that they start to see the benefit, and then maybe they will start to make even more time. Can you share some thoughts around that?
Sure. Okay. So parking in the furthest parking spot, taking the stairs versus the elevator. In your moment of if you're just brain fog, you could do some standing jacks in your office. You could do a wall sit in your office. You could do I mean, gosh, there's so many different like office
But
exercises.
now small businesses, small offices. How do we do it there?
You can do it. You can do it at your desk, right? You can
yeah,
do it in your-
Walking around a little bit.
Yeah.
Yes.
Also, accept the fact that people are walking around.
Yes.
Don't put them behind the desk and leave
Sure.
them there.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, there's lots of ways that you can go into YouTube and look up, just quick exercises you
Yeah.
can do at a desk, or even again, everybody's got some sort of a wall. You could do a wall sit, or maybe you can't do that because of your knees. There's so many different ways.
But
you can
even
be creative.
stretching, right,
Sure.
could help because it
Yeah.
just kind of releases some tension that's in you as
Yep.
well.
Yep. And if you like breath work, Wim Hof breathing, especially if you got a lot of more of that nervous anxiety and energy.
Okay, so what's Wim Hof breathing?
Oh gosh, it is a form of breathing that it's breath work, and gosh, you're basically taking these long inhales and exhales repeatedly, and then you're holding your inhale.
And then
then
exhaling
exhaling,
for
and
like
then
4 counts and
yeah,
things like
and
that. Yeah, I've done that.
yeah.
Okay.
Great stuff on YouTube for that. So if you're
Yes.
interested, and anyway, so I will say this. So you have your business, and you're probably advised to work in your business and on your business. So you have the on your business tasks, you have your in your business tasks, but you also have your personal needs as an individual.
Working on yourself.
Working on yourself.
Yeah.
And then you've got family needs and obligations. Your spouse, when's the last time you took a date night? Are you really, having one-to-one time with your
Or
kiddos?
work out together with your spouse.
Yeah, sure.
That's
yeah,
also
exactly.
cool.
You know,
Absolutely.
Yeah, how
depending
can-
on the couple,
How-
Yeah,
how can
for
you
sure, but that's
combine-
healthy.
How
Sure.
can you combine
Yeah.
some of that?
Yeah,
right?
so this is my exercise, is that you take a piece of paper, because I like to write things out, get your mind away from a computer, and just put four boxes or 4 quadrants, and one quadrant is your business tasks, because we're a business talk show here, right? And then your next quadrant's going to be, okay, I need to work on, so the business task can be the thing, like for me, it's doctoring, right, or coaching. For you, it might be sales or consult, whatever it is that you do, but then the running and the operations of the business.
Okay, 60 seconds. So
Yep,
what are those
yep,
last 3
yep.
quadrants real quick?
And then the last one is the you. So that's going to be exercise, eating, downtime, meditation, journaling, whatever it is that you need. And then your family needs.
Family. Okay.
And then you could put an other, which is going to be all the other junk, like maintenance of the home and all that. Then as you're compartmentalizing, my advice would be is, as you're taking the family time and the you time, so things that are really important, because I'm hoping that your family becomes more important than the work, is that you're putting that into your calendar first. And then you're actually scheduling around those non-negotiable needs.
Exactly.
And
So
making sure that your
it's a way
needs
to
are being met.
prioritize is what you're saying.
Correct. It's a prioritizing exercise where
Yes.
you're integrating in the business needs as well as yours and your family's.
And that's
That's
all.
ex-
You can find it on your website.
Yes. So
Not that, but you
Oh.
can. But the stress
You can
intensity
find it
index.
through her.
You can,
Okay, call her.
Yeah.
Call
So how
her.
can they reach out to you?
They can reach out to me through drlexilain.com, and then also social media. You can direct
Great.
message me there.
Thank you so much, and thank you for joining us on Your Business Matters, Local Biz Now.